All right. Next subject. I'm going to move on to the final rule of three topic for today. And that topic is going to be the strangeness problem. The strangeness problem is my favorite topic out there right now. It boils down to this. And again, another question that it boils down to. The question is, why is it that everything in the universe, everything that's out there, everything, all the parts of the world, all the laws of nature, all of the stuff that is, makes up the fundamental stuff of the cosmos, why is it all completely weird, completely freaking strange? Except there's only one thing that's not weird, one thing that's not strange, and that's our perception and our experience of it. And how can that possibly be? And again, I'm going to say this over and over again today. How can we be okay with that? How do we just go walking around every day and being okay with that? It's like, it's okay. It's no big deal. But it's the strangest thing in the universe, all right? Let me give you some examples, some more elaboration on that. All right, we are solid objects, human beings, and books. I've got the Quran right here in my hand. That's a solid object. I've got my cell phone. I've got the Holy Bible. I've got a book, The End of Time. I've got all these things here. I'm touching them. I'm feeling them. I can see them. They are real things. Obviously, real things. They're made out of real stuff. At least you think so. But you break it down. If you take the Bible and this book, and you break it all the way down to its component parts, and then you continue to go and you drill down to the atomic level, you still get atoms. But when you go further than that, when you go further with anything, you get subatomic particles. All right? And the subatomic particles are not real. They're absolutely not real. Let me read this from Niels Bohr. This is a fantastic quote. He says this: everything we call real is made of things that cannot be regarded as real. Niels Bohr was one of the founding fathers of quantum physics. And he said that because he's right. Quantum objects, quantum things like photons and electrons, things they call leptons. I'm sorry, electrons, leptons. Anything that's subatomic in nature is not an actual object, but rather what they call the probabilistic object. It doesn't have a certain location. It doesn't have a certain existence in time. It occupies all parts of space, all parts of time, all parts of potential space and time. Anything that it can possibly be, it exists in what's known as a superposition of all of those states all at the same time. And yet, you add up all those electrons and all of those leptons and all of those photons, you add up everything, and you've got solid things. So you're taking things that aren't real and you're making them into something that is real. And it just freaks me out. I have no idea how that happens. And I'm not the only one, obviously. Anyone who studies physics, and there's a famous quote on it, I can't remember it, but anyone who studies physics knows that that's the case. And they're similarly freaked out by it. It's if you think you understand it, they say you don't understand it, because nobody does. And how it can be is just too much. And if you take a look, let me give you an example of what happens. You take an electron, okay? It's a famous experiment. It's called the double slit experiment. This gives you a really good understanding of how strange things are at the ultimate level of reality, which is the subatomic level. If you take a stream of photons, or if you shoot them through a photon emitter at a wall, and the wall has two slits in it, right? And behind that, there's another wall that captures what happens with those photons. If you shoot, even if you do it one photon at a time, and you have nothing at the point of the slits, if there's nothing there to see what's happening, that each photon goes through both slits at the same time. Seemingly impossible, but it does happen that way. It goes through both at the same time, and it hits the back wall and makes what's known as an interference pattern. So it's not necessarily an individual particle. It's also a wave. So it's a particle and a wave at the same time, which is seemingly at our level absolutely not possible. But that's true. But here's the thing. If you put an observer, a person, or some type of a recording device or whatever at the point where the photon goes through the two slits, and you take a look to see exactly that moment when it does it, it doesn't go through both slits. It only goes through one. It snaps into reality, and and there is no interference pattern on the back. It just becomes something real. just because something, someone, something is looking at it. It makes absolutely no sense. It's outrageously crazy, and yet we're good with it. We're just like, okay, well, that's just the way nature is. But for me, I'm not okay with that. I have to know, how is that possible? How can that be? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to have physicists on the show. We're going to have other experts, and there's going to be a super cool expert on what's known as the observer effect, as I kind of explained, and then the delayed. If you delay the observation, it also becomes even weirder. So we'll get into all that. But classic objects also have another feature that's outrageously strange, and yet we're good with it, no problem. But here it is. Even at the the atomic level. Almost everything is empty space. So there's very, very little matter holding everything together. We're going to really talk about that quite a bit on later shows, but that's another area where it's absolutely strange. All right? I'm going to talk about consciousness. We are conscious beings. We exist in the universe. We know that we exist. We have a reality experience, but we have absolutely no idea how that happened. How does that happen? How does it even possibly come around? We don't know. We don't know the first thing about it. It's called the hard question of science. And it is truly hard, but we're okay with that too. We're like, everyone just walks around, I'll have a burrito and rice and beans, whatever it is. Everyone's cool about it. But yet we're walking around not knowing why it is we know everything. And it's just fascinating to me, absolutely super cool, and we're going to really get into it. Other areas of the universe are also outrageously strange, and we have no idea how that's the case. We come up with ideas. The fine tuning, you might or might not have ever heard of this argument or this point. Everything in the universe, all the natural laws, all the constants of the universe are fine tuned, so that if even one of them was even slightly off by even a little bit, adjusted slightly this way or slightly that way, then there would be no life in the universe. So it's almost as if if you're walking on Mars and you see a big dome, and all the dials around the dome are completely calibrated so that life exists inside that dome. But if you turn one even a small bit, no life in there. That's what the universe is like. That's where you have everything fine-tuned. And we, scientists, religious people, everyone's coming up with theories about it, and we're going to really dig into that. But it's extremely strange why that's the case. Well, as is the speed of light. It's the only thing in the universe that's not variable. Time is variable. Space itself is variable. We know from Einstein's theories of relativity that if you take a look at space and time, it depends on where you are and how fast you're moving. That's how that tells you how you're going to experience time. That's how you're going to experience space. So, again, another absolutely fundamental part of the universe that's really, truly strange. And we get into it gets into extraordinarily cool and really out there thinking, although it's really come into vogue now, the many theories of quantum physics and the multiverse. We're going to dig into all of these subjects with experts on the areas of science, religion, and philosophy on this show. That's what this Rule of Three episode is about, is to give you a taste of what the topics are going to be, what the conversation is going to be about. If you want to know more, we encourage you to go to our website. It's exusthepodquest.com. Learn more about these subjects. Ask questions yourself. Ask us questions. We'd love to have your input. Again, it's exusthepodquest.com. And so, as we like to say, you go there, and we will be going ever forward.